The Orunga Crater. The European Space Agency has released an interesting photograph that was taken over the nation of Chad. It was taken on board the International Space Station by British astronaut Tim Peake. It's known as the Orunga Crater. It's over 12.5 kilometers or 7.7 miles in diameter and thought to be over 340 million years old. Scientists who have studied the formation have said that it was likely buried into the Earth, and this is why we can see the large ring-like patterns. The crater is already located close to two other circular features. These were picked up by the SIRC radar. What's interesting about these other formations is that it could mean Orunga was part of an asteroid chain. Although the image and asteroid behind it are interesting, it's a reminder that these giant space rocks do every so often collide with our planet. When we think of NASA, many of us think of the moon landings and other space missions. However, one very important thing they do is scan our skies for asteroids. Thousands of these asteroids can be found all across our solar system. The majority of them can be found in the main asteroid belt, which is located between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. According to NASA, there are more than 25,000 asteroids near us, of 140 meters in size at a minimum. One of the biggest asteroids to collide with our planet happened 65 million years ago. Scientists say that a colossal asteroid hit the Earth, causing the KT event and eventual dying of the dinosaurs. When this giant space rock hit, it caused a massive chain reaction of events to unfold. This event would have caused climate and geological changes that interrupted the dinosaurs' food supply. In North America, a towering tsunami buried plants and animals under thick piles of rubble. Lofted debris darkened skies around the world, and the planet chilled and stayed that way for years. Within a short amount of time, over 70% of life on Earth perished. Details of Jesus' bloodline. The story of Jesus Christ is one of the most well-known across the planet. His miracles, crucifixion, and resurrection are all some of the most famous narratives of human culture, but whilst you might think the story is complete from start to finish, with the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John documenting Jesus' life from birth to death to subsequent resurrection. However, there is a large part of Jesus' life that is distinctly missing from the accounts of Jesus' story. From the time Jesus was 8 years old until he was in his early 30s, there is a significant gap in his biography. The exception is located in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 2, verses 41 to 51, tells of when a 12-year-old Jesus travelled to Jerusalem with his parents to celebrate Passover. Aside from that, there is nothing else. No detail about Jesus' early years, such as his schooling or childhood friends, or his life as a young adult. This is until now. An ancient manuscript around 1500 years old has been unearthed at the British Library with surprising revelations about Jesus' life in the interim. With such astounding claims in such an early authenticated document, this is something that could certainly have more documents to back it up in the Vatican secret archives. Even with the Vatican having such documents in their possession, however, these chronicles of Jesus' early life would never see the light of day due to their shocking claims. According to this lost gospel of Jesus, the would-be Messiah became engaged, got married, and went on to not only have sexual relations, but also produce children. Arguably, there is nothing theologically troublesome about Jesus getting married. It's not as if the Bible rules that out. What is more controversial is the idea of Jesus having a bloodline that still exists today. And that's something the Vatican would want to keep hidden in its secret archives. The Lost Gospel writes that Jesus and Mary Magdalene produced a daughter, with further pages suggesting the birth of a second child. This document led to deeper investigations beyond the text, with scholars trying to piece together Jesus' subsequent bloodlines. Two of the most prominent researchers believe 13 generations of Jesus' descendants existed in Britain before the times of King Arthur, and that being the case means the descendants of the Son of God are not limited to just a few people, but are many and widely spread amongst us. Research continues to this day. George Penker. Yosemite National Park is famous for its amazing waterfalls, deep valleys, and ancient sycamore trees. Located in the Sierra Nevada mountains in central California, the park draws 4 million visitors every single year. On Friday, June the 17th, 2011, 80 people from a church in Hawthorne, California were visiting the park. 20 of them, including 30-year-old George Penker, decided to make the hike to Upper Yosemite Falls. The hike to Upper Yosemite Falls offers fantastic views on its way to the view of the tallest waterfall in the United States. The trail is somewhat strenuous, with a steep fall to one side. Although the trail is not the easiest, it is said the payoff at the top is worth it. Once at the top, the group disbanded to allow everyone a chance to explore and return to the trailhead at their leisure. Penker's friends assume he had taken the trail back down alone and therefore did not report him missing until 9 p.m. Penker was last seen wearing grey sweatpants with white stripes, a black t-shirt that says D&B, along with a blue cloth bag. Searches for Penker started almost immediately, with full-fledged searches beginning the following morning. In all, 105 people, a helicopter, and 6 dogs were all involved in the search. Fellow churchgoers stated that Penker was in good spirits on the whole trail and seemed to make the hike without much trouble, though no one could pinpoint where they saw him last. The National Park Service website states the following about the trails. Do not stray off of the maintained path, as you will find steep drops adjacent to the trail. The upper half of the trail is steep and rocky, but the arduous climb is well worth the amazing views you will be rewarded with at the top. It is easy to believe Penker found himself off the trail, resulting in a quick fall to his assumed death. Due to the dangerous conditions and the lack of any evidence tied to Penker, searches were scaled back for the safety of those searching. Sadly, in all the years searching for Penker, not a shred of evidence has turned up, not a piece of clothing, nor his blue bag. It is still widely believed Penker perished just off the trail, again proving that although beautiful, national parks can turn into death traps if you are not careful. Thousands of people have gone missing in national parks. Due to how vast they are, the majority of these individuals are never found. This has caused various people to put forward different theories to explain their disappearances. What's worrying is that this number seems to be on the increase, something that national park workers can't explain. The Upir vampire, Russia. Upir is considered to be one of the most vicious vampire species in Russian folklore. It's believed that this vampire is incredibly bloodthirsty and won't stop until it's got its fix. This creature is said to enjoy the hunt and will even play with its victims. According to the stories, this creature is said to have iron-strong teeth, a pale face, and give off a distinctive smell. Interestingly enough, it's reported by eyewitnesses that the sunlight does not affect this entity and that it actually uses this to its advantage. This creature is said to hunt during the daytime from noon until midnight. Different regions in Russia and the Ukraine seem to have different legends about vampires and even detail ways in which you can kill them. The best way of taking down one of these creatures is tying a thread to one of the creature's buttons. After this, you will then be able to follow it back to its den and drench it in holy water. Once this has been done, a stake to the heart will finish off the creature. Although these stories sound outlandish, locals in the region take them very seriously and are always on the lookout for these creatures. The Kensington Runestone. Back in 1898, found in the midwestern state of Minnesota, a Swedish immigrant by the name of Olof Öhman had reportedly made a strange discovery located near the small town of Solum that has been the object of debate for the past 12 decades. According to Olof Öhman, as he was tending to his field and clearing out the land he had just purchased for ownership, he had found a massive stone with carvings on the side that were instantly recognizable to him as a native Scandinavian. The stone was described as being roughly 202 pounds with Scandinavian runes written on the face and side of the stone. The stone itself, when translated, was dated to have been written back in 1362 and was a written record left behind by Scandinavian explorers that had visited the region. Experts were quick to claim that the record had been a forgery, as the translation seemed to match a more modern dialect as compared to what would have been expected back in the 14th century. Interestingly enough, however, the records of the journey made by Scandinavian explorer Leif Erikson, of whom had journeyed throughout the Americas at the theorized timeframe sometime around the early 11th century, began to reach popularization during the early 1900s, shortly following the discovery of this stone. This renewed popularization of the Scandinavian theory quickly led to researchers reanalyzing the stone, as well as seeing the stone itself sent to the Smithsonian to be put on display for study. During its stay on display, linguistic scholars such as William Thalbitzer and S.N. Hagen both published papers that proved the authenticity of the stone by tracing the philological problems with the stone's grammar as having been the result of normal dialectal variances of the language during the time period in which it was written, proving that the stone had to be authentic in nature to have such specific grammar cases found in less well-known dialects of the Old Swedish language. Regardless of this evidence, however, to this day experts debate over the authenticity of the stone and continue to make claims that Scandinavian explorers had never reached as far west as the Minnesota state during their expeditions to the New World.